Köszönöm szépen. Actually, I know a few other words in Hungarian. This is my 5th trip to Hungary. My first, I was 21 years old, and János Kadar was the prime minister. That is history to most of you, but I lived it. And I will just tell you how I learned my first 2 words of Hungarian, man and woman. I came from Vienna, and I entered the boat, the hydrofoil on the Danube, needing a men's room. But there was no men's room on this boat, which went very fast and caused a fair amount of pain in me. I arrived in Budapest, and it was a communist country at the time, so it took a long time to get through customs. And by the time I got through customs, I was in real pain. I step outside, and thank God I see a building, and it says WC. And I go, thank God, that's international. And I walk to it, actually I ran to it, and I see 2 doors. And over one door it says knock, and over the other it says férfiak. And I don't know if I am a knock or a férfiak. No one ever told me. So what did I do? The most embarrassing moment perhaps in my life. I stood in the street and I would ask Hungarians, knock, férfiak? Am I a man or am I a woman? And they would run away, thinking an American crazy man had come to Budapest. And I finally learned the difficult way that I was not a knock, but I was a férfi. And that was my first 2 words. I have told this story to American audiences. There are millions of Americans who know knock and férfiak, and that's it. But I want to tell you on a very serious note what I have said in Eastern Europe, not just in Hungary. If Western civilization is saved, it will be saved by Eastern Europe. I don't say that to make you feel good. In fact, it should make you feel even more responsible for the work you are doing as conservatives in Eastern Europe. Basically, Western Europe is pretty much lost, and I am unbelievably shocked and sad to say America is not yet lost to the left, but it does not look good. And when the left takes over a country or a university or a website, there is no longer any free speech. Which brings me to my topic, of course, of the media. Musical accompaniment. So the issue with the media is a very serious one. I have learned this past year and a half in the United States a lesson that I did not believe. My field of study was communism. I was at Columbia University in the School of International Affairs. I learned Russian. I spent a lot of time in communist countries. And I believed that a media, a press, can only brainwash a population in a dictatorship. I did not believe that in a free country, media could brainwash a civilization. In the last year and a half, something I have believed all of my life, I realized was wrong. America is a free country, less free today than ever before, but still free, and it has been brainwashed by the media. People believe things that aren't true. That is called brainwash. When you are told things that just aren't true. I will give you a few examples that I noted down so I wouldn't forget. For example, in the United States today, and if you don't believe me, I don't blame you. So I can only tell you, you can look it up. In the United States today, if you tweet, "Men do not give birth," your tweet may well be taken down. You may lose your ability to tweet for some time. You are considered a hater if you say men do not give birth. The media now refer to a person who gives birth as not a woman, but a birthing person. The American Medical Association, the chief medical association in the United States, came out last week and announced we should no longer list sex on a birth certificate. That is not right to say male or female on a baby that is just born. Who are we to say what it is? Now, of course, they know if it's a male or female, if it's an animal, if it's a mammal, if it's a primate, but not a human. That's the only animal that doesn't have male and female any longer. The entire animal kingdom has male and female, but not the human being. This is the announcement of the American Medical Association. And so the media have already influenced the Medical Association. The world is not divided between men and women. That is a hate statement at Harvard. That is a hate statement at Berkeley. I hope this is all clear to you. We are living in a strange time where up is down and down is up, left is right, right is left. The state of Oregon Educational Department has announced it will no longer have yes or no, correct or incorrect answers in mathematics. There is no one answer to the question, how much is 2 and 2? That is white supremacy to say that there is one right answer in math. It is white supremacy to say that Beethoven was a great composer. You are only saying it because he was white and you are white. That is what is taught, and that is what the media espouse. Americans believe this because the two major sources of influence, the media and academia, the university, and now high schools, this is what they teach. I was on a national American, you may even know of it, Bill Maher has a program in the United States. He's a liberal. He had me, I was the one conservative, you could see it on YouTube. I was the one conservative on his show. This was October 2019, right before COVID. And he said, oh, Trump lies all the time. I said, but it doesn't compare to how much the left lies. And he said, oh yeah, like what? And I said, like for example, the left says men menstruate, men give birth. And he started laughing at me. Who says that? The entire audience laughed at me. Who says that? Now, in 1.5 years, everyone says that. You don't say a woman gives birth, you say a birthing person gives birth. To say a woman gives birth is now hate speech. This is what has come, and this is going to come to Eastern Europe. It may already be here, I don't know. And Western Europe, certainly. But this is what the media have done in the United States. I have learned, as I told you, the ability to brainwash people does not depend on living in a communist country or a fascist country. You can brainwash people in a free country. And that is what I have seen this past year in the United States. I won't even start about the issue of the lockdowns and COVID, how you cannot say, for example, I'll give you an example, in medicine. You cannot say that maybe therapeutics are better than a vaccine. I'm not against the vaccine. I'm just telling you there are ways, not at billions of dollars, but at no profits to the pharmaceutical companies to treat people, called ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and zinc. I personally have been on ivermectin for the last 1.5 years. I did not get vaccinated. I have been around people with COVID. I have practiced no social distancing. I have hugged strangers for the last 1.5 years at speeches. I have not gotten anything, nothing. Ivermectin is great. But if you say this on a tweet, they say you are giving misinformation. Twitter will say that's misinformation. You are killing people if you advocate ivermectin. But there's no money in ivermectin. Ivermectin costs $1. $1 a dose. That's it. Whereas the vaccines are very expensive. Somebody is paying for that. You can't say anything that the left differs with any longer. I'll give you another terrible lie. I gave Bill Maher 2 examples. Men menstruate, and the other one is that America is systemically racist. I'm sure you've heard that. Not just racist, systemically racist. Built into the system is racism. The United States is the least racist country in the history of the world in which many races have lived. There is no comparison. Do you know, I'll bet you don't know, 3 million blacks have moved to the United States in the last few decades. 3 million from Africa, 2 million, and 1 million from the Caribbean. So I always ask on my radio show and on television in America, if the United States is systemically racist, why do millions of blacks move to the United States? And I give an example. Did any Jews move to Germany in the 1930s? The question is a silly one. No Jews moved to Germany. Why didn't any Jews move to Germany? It was very difficult for Jews in Russia. There were pogroms. Jews were killed routinely in Russia. Why didn't they move to Germany? Because Germany was worse. Because Germany was run by anti-Semites. Jews knew it. Not one Jew moved to Germany. 3 million blacks moved to the United States. The media never tell you that. The media not only lie in what they tell you, they lie in what they do not tell you. This is news to Americans, how many blacks have moved to the United States. Let me state this clearly as possible. The best place for a black to live on earth today is the United States of America. More freedom, more opportunity, more affluence, more jobs, more education. That's why they moved to the United States. Are black Africans stupid? Why would a black move to a systemically racist country? It's a gigantic lie that America is racist. Does America have any racists living in it? Yes, it does. I'm a Jew, so let me tell you something. It is the best country Jews have ever lived in America outside of their own country when they had an Israel. The United States, and there are many anti-Semites in America. America has 330 million people. Some of them are bad. There are anti-Semites, there are racists, there's everything. But it's still a blessing to live in the United States if you are a Jew or if you are a black. The fact that there are racists in the United States does not make America racist. They lie about race all the time. George Floyd was not killed because he was black. The man who was, the officer who had his knee, the white officer who had his knee on George Floyd in Minneapolis, which started the riots in America for half a year, he was not, you know who said he wasn't killed because he was black? The black Democrat Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. A left-wing man. He had to acknowledge, he said it on American television. This was not a race issue. The riots in the United States were over the media lie, not about the truth. George Floyd wasn't killed because he was black. There was nothing racial about his death. But the media made it racial, and then all the riots took place among many, many bored young Americans. Boredom is another problem. The post-religious world is a bored world. Christianity, and I'm a Jew telling you this, Christianity gave Europeans meaning in life. When Christianity died, in Europe, we got fascism, Nazism, and communism. What's going to happen in America when Christianity dies? You see what's happening in America. a boredom of the soul, as the French put it, an ennui, boredom. There is no longer anything that gives life meaning. So now what gives millions of young Americans meaning is fighting racism. The problem is there's very little racism to fight. The University of California listed, you could see this on the internet, it's called racist microaggressions. Things you can say that are racist even though you don't think they are. Here is an example. If you say, I don't care about color, I am colorblind, that is considered racist. Is that ridiculous or is that ridiculous? If you don't care about color, how could you be racist? If you do care about color, you're a racist. And this is all what the media and academia tell Americans every single day in the long list of lies. For 2 years, the media told America that the Trump campaign had collusion with Russia in the campaign to win the presidency. After 2 years of a national investigation, it was found to be completely untrue. There was absolutely no collusion between the Trump campaign and Vladimir Putin. None, zero. It was a gigantic lie for 2 years. It is a lie that there was an insurrection on January 6th. There was a stupid, ridiculous riot. That's all there was. I don't defend it. I didn't defend it that day. I condemned it the day it happened on my radio show. But it wasn't insurrection. As I wrote in a column then, the left is using January 6th in the US Capitol the way the Nazis used the Reichstag fire to suppress liberty then in Germany and to suppress liberty now in the United States. To read the American media or to listen to the American mainstream media is to enter a world of lies. There is no joy in me telling you this. I wish it were not the case. By the way, it's not all that new. 6 million Ukrainians were starved to death by Stalin in 1932. And the New York Times wrote at the time, no one is starving in the Ukraine. And the man who wrote it, Walter Duranty, got the biggest journalism prize in America, the Pulitzer Prize. The New York Times has never returned that prize. It lied because this guy was being financed by Stalin, Walter Duranty. Lying in the media is not new, but it has never been as widespread as it is today. That's why I began this talk by telling you this can happen in a free country. You don't need to have a dictatorship to have the press brainwash people. Take COVID, for example. The vaccine works. Okay, I hope it does. I pray it does. And then they're told, but if you're vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask. Does that make any sense to anybody? If the vaccine works, why do I have to wear a mask? By the way, the joke is masks don't work. What works? But the things that might work, like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, that you're not allowed to talk about. But just tell me on logical grounds, why does a person who's vaccinated have to wear a mask? You know why? Because the media told them so. That's why. And that's all that has to be. And doctors who say it's not true are not allowed in mainstream media. They are taken down. There are many doctors who say this is all lies, but they don't have a voice. There were doctors who appeared at the United States Senate. Senator Ron Johnson convened a Senate meeting, and he had epidemiologists and other scientists on to speak about ivermectin. It was taken down by YouTube. They say believe in science. That's a lie too. They don't believe in science. They believe in scientists with whom they agree. And that's the only ones you are allowed to hear. This is a very dangerous thing because people believe the media. That's a big, big problem. And then people call my show and they go, so Dennis, whom do I believe? And it's a very tough question. If you don't know who to believe, if there is such a breakdown of trust in your government and in your media and in your colleges and universities, this is a very serious crisis. That's why the work you're doing here is so important. I don't know where the West will be saved, but you have to understand something. There is a war against the West. I am very involved in classical music. I conduct orchestras periodically. And it is amazing to me to read that the only reason people think Beethoven and Bach and Mozart were great was because they were white. How do you explain the fact that the Japanese love Bach? Are the Japanese white? There are more orchestras playing Bach in Japan than in the United States. How do you explain that? Because it's the greatest music ever written. It has no color. It has no race. Children are not taught Shakespeare. The English department at the University of Pennsylvania, that is considered an Ivy League college, one of the most prestigious colleges in the United States. The English department took down, removed the picture of William Shakespeare. You know why? They said why. Because he was a white European male. And instead, they put up a non-white female lesbian, whom none of you ever heard of. I never heard of. Because it doesn't matter if what you write is good. It matters if you are white or heterosexual or male or female. Those are the criteria now, not excellence. The West was built on the idea that there is great art and not great art. Now it is built on the question of not, is the art great, but is the artist white? That shouldn't matter. We're fighting the fight of our lives for Western civilization. And if we lose, there will be chaos, pure chaos. There will be a dark ages. I want you to understand what you are fighting for. I see my friends from Romania in the audience. When I spoke in Romania a few years ago, I told them, maybe Eastern Europe will save Western Europe and the West. And a lot in the audience had never heard that from someone from the West. There's a sort of inferiority complex, I think, among many East Europeans. But you shouldn't have one. You should see yourselves as the saviors of the West, because the West is not saving itself. Somebody has to. That's why I came from California. And let me tell you, it's a long trip. But I came, and I am happy I came, because I see what you're doing. And I'm meeting wonderful Hungarians who are fighting the fight, like this wonderful group. So please understand that a lot of us understand the importance of what you're doing. You need to understand it. I will end with this. And then I would like to take questions if you'd like to ask anything or say anything. I am asked all the time, am I optimistic or pessimistic? And I'd like to tell you what I always answer. It doesn't matter. It is irrelevant if you're an optimist or a pessimist. Pessimists don't fight, and optimists don't fight. Pessimists don't fight. Why bother? It's going to turn out bad. Optimists don't fight. Why bother? It'll turn out good. So they're both an excuse not to fight. I don't care if you're an optimist or pessimist. I care if you fight. There is no other question that matters. I don't fight because I think we'll win. I fight because I have to fight. Because there are a lot of people who died for liberty before I was born. And I owe to them that I fight for freedom. And that I fight for the idea that there is beauty and there is greatness in art and in literature and in values and in morality. And I fight, frankly, because I'm a religious man. And I think God wants me to fight. God doesn't care if I'm an optimist or a pessimist. He cares if I did good in the few years I was given on this planet. And right now, the best good you can do, right now, is to fight the left and to win them over and to understand the danger that they pose to this beloved thing called liberty. Thank you very much. Thank you. Köszönöm. Thank you. Thank you again.
Köszönjük szépen, Dennis. Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you very much for this thought-provoking presentation. I feel that you touched upon a number of the most pressing issues of our time, including the controversial aspects of wokeism, free speech, media, education, as well as the importance of preserving our culture and the importance of religion. Today, I think that there are still quite a few topics to discuss, so I would like to ask the audience who would be the first candidate to ask some questions. Please come to the stage, and please keep it short and sweet, and share your question. Thank you.
I would like to ask what you mean by Western civilization, because we're not really a Western country. So what do you mean? Hungarians and like Middle European countries have to say Western civilization?
Yes, I believe you are part of Western civilization as much as France or Britain. I'm not saying it to make you feel good. I never tell audiences things to make them feel good. Just please know that. I have no interest in making you feel good. I have interest in telling you the truth. You are as part of the West as France is. You are part of what we would call in America Judeo-Christian civilization. That's Christian civilization based on the Jewish scriptures, the Hebrew Bible. Okay? That's what you are. You have inherited as much as the French or the Spanish or Americans. I don't understand any difference. That you express it differently. Of course, every place expresses it differently. I'm a Jew, I express it differently than a Christian. But I am as much part, and they are as much part of the Judeo-Christian world as I am. We are united on the most basic values. Western civilization is a value statement, not a geographic statement. There are Japanese who support Western civilization. There are Koreans who support the West. You don't have to be living in the West to support Western civilization. If you think Shakespeare is great, if you think the Bible is the source of your values, as many Koreans do, they are part of the West. That's the West, in my opinion. And who is not the West? The leftist Hungarian and the leftist American, they are not part of the West. They hate the West. And that's what you must understand.
I have a question. I'm also from California, so fellow Californian.
You're also from California?
I'm Hungarian and American. So you touched upon how you think Western Europe is lost, but America is still not lost yet. Some would say it's the reverse. That wokeism started in the West or in America and is now spreading towards Europe. Could you please?
Oh, I agree with you completely. It started in America and it is spreading. However, you know what is amazing to me? It's not just America. Every English-speaking country. New Zealand is worse than the United States. Canada is twice as bad as the United States. Canada is one of the most unfree countries in the Western world. There is much more freedom in Hungary than in Canada. Okay, that's just a fact. It's not an opinion. Canada is getting to be almost a police state. And it's unbelievable, but it is true. There is so little free speech now available in Canada and religious freedom as well that it is almost incredible. Australia, the lockdowns in Australia that people have put up with in Australia, one person gets COVID in Melbourne and the entire state of Victoria is shut down. I mean, this is sick. This is sick, and people take it. This is what amazed me in California. People watched their own livelihoods destroyed and did not demonstrate against the government of California. So you are right, but it's not just America. It's coming from the entire English-speaking world. I don't know why. I don't know why the English-speaking world is right now the worst in terms of political correctness and wokeism, but it is true. So I agree with you. I didn't say that the West is lost. That's the
You
only
said
thing.
Western Europe is.
No, I
lost.
didn't say it. So I said, yes, I said compared to Eastern, you will save the West, Western Europe. If I said Western Europe is lost, I may have overstated it. It's almost lost. But it is more lost than Poland and Hungary and my friends in Romania.
To piggyback on that last question, so if that's the case, if Western Europe is directionless and Eastern Europe is the guiding force, would you recommend Hungary to leave the EU?
I would say that Hungary and Poland right now are the chief forces of the fight. That is why Donald Trump gave his big speech about the West in Warsaw. He chose Warsaw for a specific reason. So I don't know. Listen, if Hungary and Poland decide to fight it out for saving the West, it's the best fight I can imagine. And if Romania joins, that would be great. I know that's a difficult thing to say in Hungary, but at least I didn't mention Slovakia, so I know what I can talk about and what not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your speech. My question is, what do you think about identity politics, and do you think that as a conservative, is it important to fight against it?
Identity politics is pure racism. There is nothing important about a human being's color. Nothing. I say this at American universities where I have a lot of black students in the audience, and I look them in the face and I tell them, your color is the least important thing about you. I consider your skin color to be as important as your eye color or your shoes color. And that is the only moral position to take. I take that as an American, as a Westerner, and as a religious person. God created Adam. In God's image, the human being is created. Tell me what color God is. Okay? That's what I think of identity politics. Identity politics are the politics of people who have no identity outside of that. An American, I have two big identities, American and Jew. They fill my life. They both fill my life. The left has no such identity, so they need to make one up. White, black, female, male, gay, straight. Those are their identities. It's unbelievable. That means nothing. None of them mean anything. We are created in God's image. That's all you need to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Canadian. The resistance is forming in Canada. But
Well, maybe it came to Hungary for the week.
It did. What hope do you see for Canada and America and Western Europe?
Well, you asked me a terrible question. So I'll tell you a great answer. I'll tell you a dark answer and then a brighter answer. I used to, when I was in my 20s, I would go to Israel every year on a visit, and I would stay with a man who was sort of a mentor in my life, an older man who was a rabbi. So he told me this story once. He said in the early days, Israel was founded, it was a socialist country. And so everything was run by the government. So he went to the government communications office to get a telephone. And he said to the clerk, how long will it take till I get my phone? And the clerk said 6 months. So I said to the clerk, this is the Israeli rabbi telling me, so I said to the clerk, sir, is there any hope I can get the phone sooner? And he said to me, sir, there's always hope. There's no chance. So whenever people ask me if there's any hope, I have this dark answer. There's always hope. There's no chance. All right. So there is a chance. That's what you're asking, really, not is there hope. Yes, look, every good thing in the history of the world was started by a small group. Majorities don't do good. It's just the way it works. Majorities are watching television. They're not doing bad. They're doing nothing. Most people don't fight any fight. not the good fight and not the bad fight. So the minority of bad people usually win because most people don't do anything. That's true in Canada, it's true in the United States. So if we can motivate enough people, but the media shut us down, this is a very serious problem. I mean, what am I going to rely on? Do you know when I interviewed your former prime minister, the last conservative?
Stephen Harper.
Yeah, Stephen Harper.
Harper.
So at a PragerU, by the way, how many of you have watched the PragerU video? Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. That's great. So I interviewed Stephen Harper at a PragerU conference, and he said to me, the CBC is worse than CNN. And I thought, how do you get worse than CNN? and yet, you agree with him. So it's very difficult to undo the sheep-like behavior of the media, and it's all sheep-like. It's not even that they're leftist, it's that they're cowards. The media is filled with cowards. That's all it is. I want to keep my job, so I'll say what the people who hired me want me to say. And if I have to say men give birth, I'll say men give birth. Do I really believe it? Of course not. But I will say it because I will lie for an income. That is the state of most people in the media. They lie for an income. So there is hope, but it's not looking good right now in Canada.
There's a lot less media freedom in Canada than in Hungary.
That's correct. That was my point. That's exactly correct.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
Throughout your career, you've been talking about the importance of value and how universal truths define us and how the variations of Western culture are in danger. What is the way forward for conservatives in this ever-changing world, and should we, or how should we rethink the concept of God, morality, family, to end the division that is tearing us apart?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for following what I say for these years. I appreciate it. Let me tell you in a nutshell, the United States is founded, I think America has a universal value system. On every coin in America are three things: liberty, in God we trust, and e pluribus unum. E pluribus unum is Latin. It means from many, one. Every society, if they lived by those three, the world would be a beautiful place. Liberty. Liberty, my dear friends, I want you to understand something. If you leave with only this part, it was worth my coming here. Liberty is not a human instinct. It is a value. People do not yearn to be free. People yearn to be taken care of. That you must understand. That is the reason communism is popular. Do you know how many people died at Stalin's funeral, trampling one another, crying? Those were real tears. They loved the man who murdered their uncle. She, the president of China, just gave a speech lauding, praising Mao. His own father was beaten by Maoist thugs. His uncle was murdered during the Cultural Revolution. And he is praising. These people don't even care about their family. They care about power, and they care, and the average person, just take care of me. Stalin is popular among many, many Russians, and he's not even Russian, he's Georgian. He's very popular in Georgia, Georgia. Very popular. People loved Hitler, genuinely loved him. So please understand, the basic problem is human nature. If you don't battle yourself, there is no hope for mankind. That is the basic teaching of Judaism and Christianity. I am the problem, not my country. The biggest difference between a religious education in America and a secular education is this. I was raised in a religious education. I was told that the biggest problem in my life is Dennis Prager. In a secular school, you are taught that the biggest problem in your life is the United States of America. That's a very different outlook on life. I had to battle me. They have to battle America. But America is not the problem. I'm the problem. And one of the biggest problems is people do not yearn to be free. And you know when I learned that? In first grade in the Bible. When the Israelites left Egypt, 400 years of slavery, the first thing they did was complain. The food was better in Egypt. Read it. It's there in the book of Exodus. Read my Bible commentary. It's meant to change your life. It's called the Rational Bible. I've spent my life teaching these books. This is one of the things that I learned from it. They just left slavery and they're complaining about the food that God gave them in the desert. It was better food. Communism makes sure you're employed, right? There's full employment under communism. That's what they told me in the Soviet Union. You have unemployment in America. Everybody's employed in the Soviet Union. Of course, everybody was employed. Everybody is employed on a slave plantation. Slaves have full employment. And I was telling my Hungarian friends, the beauty of nationalism could be good or bad, like everything else. Religion could be good or bad. There's nothing that can't be made bad. Nothing. Love doesn't guarantee, nothing is goodness. Nationalism, though, could be really good. If I believe in Hungarian nationalism, I'm American. I believe in Romanian nationalism. I believe in Canadian nationalism because it unites people. You don't have to be Catholic to be Hungarian. You don't have to be Christian to be Hungarian. You have to be Hungarian and identify with the state. And the family must regard you as a Hungarian, whether you're a Jew or a Christian or an atheist. That's what e pluribus unum means. Black or white, Christian or Jew or atheist, you are an American. But the left has destroyed that. They don't want everybody to feel American. They want everybody to feel black or white or Hispanic or gay. That's the crisis. Nationalism is a solution to that if it is done properly. That's the hope. That's what I advocate. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you again.